Today's video, hey look, we are making as a result of one of your comments. We had a viewer reach out and ask us to do a video comparing Baltimore and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that's what we're going to do today. So if you're looking to make a move to either of those cities, stick around. We're getting started right now. What is up, everyone? It's Adam Taylor with the Relentless Home Group right here in Maryland. Hey, if this is your first time to our channel and you're looking to learn all about life in Maryland, great news, you're in the right spot. We do videos each and every week talking about living here, working here, commuting here, chilling, and going out to some of the best spots in and around Maryland. So if that's the information that you're looking for, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to give the little bell a click. That way you're alerted every time we put out another video. Now, right now, I gotta be honest with you, my team and I, we are being flooded with phone calls, emails, and texts from folks all over the world looking to make a move here to Maryland, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about making a move, hey, my team and I, we would love to help you out in that transition, but we just need one thing from you, and that's for you to reach out to us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or fan us down with that smoke signal, however you need to get a hold of us. Hey, we got your back when moving here to Maryland. From Baltimore down the bay to the beaches in Ocean City, we got you covered. Today's video, again, we are breaking down Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. Now, this is going to be a fun one because we got the City of Bridges versus Charm City. Let's just start out with some basics. Let's look at, let's look at the population. So Pittsburgh is quite a bit smaller than Baltimore. Population in Pittsburgh, right now as of recording this video, is a little over 300,000 folks. Baltimore, we're almost to 600,000 people. So essentially, it's almost double the size here in Maryland. So if you're looking for a little bit of a smaller population, smaller town, Pittsburgh might be the right fit, but hey, it's too early to make that decision. You got to stick around because I'm going to dump a boatload of stuff on you here all the way through the video. Let's look at the biggest reason. And in reality, it's the reason that most folks reach out to us. What is the cost of housing in these places? Well, I've jotted down some notes here, and I did a one-bedroom apartment, comparing the rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Pittsburgh versus a one-bedroom apartment here in Baltimore. So one bedroom in Pittsburgh is going to cost you just under $1,600 at $1,584. One-bedroom apartment in Baltimore, and this is pretty accurate, really, $1,812. So there's a couple $100 difference between the two cities, but you're starting to see some of the housing costs are, at least on the rental side, are quite a bit higher. Now that's the rental market. What about if you're looking to purchase a home? Well, here's some good news on this part. Both cities are pretty doggone affordable, if you ask me. Now, the median home prices are what I'm going to give you, but keep in mind, here we are in the middle of 2022. We're in the hottest housing boom ever. And when these statistics are made, they are taking homes all across the board inside the city limits when they give you the numbers. So in Baltimore, for example, there are homes, quite honestly, that are teardown homes that the city is selling for pennies on the dollar. So take this with a grain of salt when I give you the numbers. So the average price of a home when you go to purchase one in Baltimore City is $175,000. Realistically, if you want a decent place to live, I think your budget needs to be greater than $250,000. It's just going to give you a nice row home in a good part of town that you're not going to have to put a lot of work into. But keep in mind that that number is increasing each and every day. Now, on the flip side, pulling the data from the same source that I pulled it from for the Baltimore numbers, Pittsburgh has got an average housing cost of $218,400. So on the paper, it seems that Pittsburgh might be a little bit more expensive. However, me giving you the local knowledge here in Maryland, I say 175 is pretty low when looking for a place here in Baltimore. And I would actually bump it up, like I said, 250, 275, even 300 to get yourself a really nice spot that you're going to feel comfortable with and certainly not outgrow anytime here in the near future. All right, enough about housing. What are the factors? Why are people coming here to Maryland? Well, naturally, it's one of two things that we find. It's either a job relocation or school. And in reality, it looks like Pittsburgh's the same way. Here's some stats too that I think that are important because, hey, we want to make sure our cities are growing. And what's great about it is I looked at the unemployment numbers here, and Pittsburgh's unemployment rate is at about 4.8%, which is 2% less than the national average. It's great. Now, in years past, Baltimore has had a significantly high unemployment rate. It was at 11% at one time, if you can believe it. Now, right now, we're slightly under Pittsburgh by a nose hair, all right, at 4.7%. So virtually identical. So the good thing is people are getting up, they're going to work, and the city is moving and buzzing, and things are happening in the city. An interesting fact that I learned about the city of Pittsburgh is the majority of the people living in the city, actually 25% more than Baltimore, actually own homes. And being a real estate agent, hey, I think that's fantastic that folks in Pittsburgh are just settling down, putting down roots, and purchasing great places to call home. So kudos to all of you in Pittsburgh. I love it. And, you know, that really just shows that you all care for your city so much. Now, some things that I want to throw in here regarding Baltimore. Now, why might more people rent here? It might be a question you're asking yourself. Well, you got to think about it. We're in close proximity to Washington, D.C. We're in close proximity to Philadelphia as well as New York. So when folks are moving here, their territory may change. They may gravitate closer to the northern side and head up towards Philadelphia after being here for a few years, or head on down south to Washington, D.C. And they want to be able to have that flexibility to move from place to place without having to go through a long sale process if they did have a home to sell. Now, some changes that are occurring here in Baltimore. We went from sort of a manufacturing city, rail city, to now we're really into research in biotech and medicine. And that is because of Johns Hopkins University being based right here in Baltimore. In addition to that, you have University of Maryland as well, with a large presence in downtown Baltimore. But aside from that, companies like Under Armour, which is headquartered here in Baltimore, and Northrop Grumman has a huge presence in Baltimore as well, which is why we're seeing an influx of people coming in right now, because these companies are growing at a fantastic rate. Now, an advantage of living in Baltimore in comparison to Pittsburgh is that Baltimore is centrally located on the East Coast. And what I mean by that is, again, we're talking about the short commute to DC, which is about 45 minutes, or 90 minutes north to Philadelphia. And then just a few hours more, you're in New York City. So getting up and down the East Coast is very, very easy when living in Baltimore. In addition to that, as I've mentioned in numerous videos that I've done, Baltimore's main airport, BWI Thurgood Marshall, is a hub for Southwest Airlines. So what that means for you is this. Essentially, you can pretty much get a direct flight anywhere Southwest flies out of Baltimore. Now, I know you probably have to connect somewhere, but pretty much all the flights that I've looked at myself personally, all throughout the country, I usually can get a direct flight. So it's a big plus, especially those of you that travel a lot or intend to travel a lot. Let's look at the colleges in the cities. Because like I said, hey, a lot of people are making moves for job changes or secondary education. So in Pittsburgh, you've got the University of Pittsburgh, you've got Duquesne University, Carnegie Mellon, and Chatham University, just to name a few. Here in Baltimore, let's start out with University of Baltimore. You have Johns Hopkins University, University of Maryland at Baltimore, which is a medical campus, and Morgan State University, Coppin State University, and a few others. So where I'm going with this is both cities are heavily invested in education, and I don't think you can go wrong. This is actually a coin flip. It just is going to ultimately depend on your field of study, but looking at the universities on this list, you can't go wrong in either city. So if you like the outdoors, great news. There's quite a few things that you can do in both cities. Pittsburgh, they've got the Pittsburgh Zoo, and they also have Frick Park, which is the largest park in Pittsburgh. Now, flip it around here. Here in Baltimore, we're very similar. We've got the Maryland Zoo, located right in Baltimore. And then our largest park in the city is Patterson Park. And I've told you about this in previous videos in the past, but Patterson Park, in my opinion, is a condensed version of Central Park in New York. I absolutely love going there and showing homes around the park. It's fantastic. Chris and Kate, who I sold a home to not too long ago in the fall, they bought right at the edge of the park, and they absolutely love taking their dog over there. So if the outdoors is a big thing for you, good news, it looks like both spots have some great outdoor activities for you to enjoy. Now here in Baltimore, there's a couple that I want to add on there. You've got the Chesapeake Bay, which is a big one. If you're a boater or fisherman, you're going to absolutely love the bay. And then another activity, though it's not essentially an outdoor activity, Baltimore's got the Baltimore Aquarium, which is a world-renowned aquarium right here. And they do such a great job. And those of you with kids, you're gonna love taking your kids there, because the guides and the shows that they put on, especially like the dolphin show, kids just really get engaged and love it. Those of you that are in Pittsburgh, if you have something similar, if you would, do me a favor, drop it down in the comments down below, because I want to really do a deep dive into this and give a good assessment of both cities. So any fun activities, especially those outdoor activities, drop them below here. All right, those of you that like the arts are going to love either of these cities. In Pittsburgh, you've got the Andy Warhol Museum, as well as the Carnegie Museums of Pittsburgh, and then the Heinz History Center, which I learned is a direct contributor to the Smithsonian. Now here in Baltimore, you've got the Walters Art Gallery, the Baltimore Museum of Art. You've got the Museum of Industry, which is really cool. It's a great spot a lot of kids go to on field trips here. And then the big one, in my opinion, though it's not technically arts, is Fort McHenry. I mean, it's where the Star Spangled Banner, our national anthem, was written. You can see it. It's right at the end of Locust Point, and it's a great spot to go and just learn more, not only about the city of Baltimore, but also the history of our country. So again, both places, you got your fill of fantastic spots to go if you're really into the arts. What about both cities? Hey, if you want to go out on a date, where should you go? Well, here's the cool part. Now, Pittsburgh's got the Strip District. Here in Baltimore, we sort of have something similar. We've got Fells Point, but we also expand into other areas like Canton, Federal Hill, and these are kind of the areas where you would go to support a local pub, brewery, or get a quick bite to eat. Now, if you want something a little bit fancier here in Baltimore, you're probably going to stay in and around the Inner Harbor area, because that's where the majority of like your fancy steakhouses are. And if you're looking for like the nightclub scene, you're going to be right in the center of the city too at Power Plant Live. So there's tons of nightlife in both cities. Just whatever's going to fill your bucket, you've got to choose that accordingly. All right, look, my friends, hey, I hope this video is helping you out. And those of you that are considering either city or have just stumbled across this, great news. I'm glad you did. If you're finding value in the video, it would mean a ton to me if you'd hit that like button down below and just comment, hey, what's something you love about living in Baltimore or living in Pittsburgh? What's something that we haven't mentioned yet, but we may mention here in a bit, that we should all know? If you would, again, just drop it below. Love to hear what you have to say, and more importantly, your perspective on things. So here's my favorite part to talk about, and it's sports, my friends. We get to talk about the little rivalry between Baltimore and Pittsburgh in the fall that we have 2 times each year. And you know what? It's fantastic. Going to a Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers football game, of quite honestly, there's nothing like it. Now, here in Baltimore, we've got the Baltimore Ravens on the football side, Baltimore Orioles on the baseball side. And in reality, that's sort of it. Now, if we want to watch hockey or basketball, we got to hike down to DC. But the good news is, it's only, like I said, 40 to 45-minute drive to get to DC to do those things. Now in Pittsburgh, they've got football with the Steelers, baseball with the Pirates, and hockey with the Penguins. So there's a little bit more, I should say, in closer proximity to do, but in reality, you have access to an additional sport in basketball by being here in Maryland. So if you're an NBA fan, sort of makes sense, if sports is a big priority for you, to really look at the Baltimore metro area. I know you like to go out to eat, so let's talk about the food in both cities. Well, in Pittsburgh, from what I read, all right, and please, all of you in Pittsburgh, I need you to comment, because here's the deal. When I visited Pittsburgh a few years back, I found out they have some incredible restaurants, and I found a sandwich shop. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but when I go to edit this video, you know what? I'm going to drop it down in the comments below, but it was phenomenal. These sandwiches were incredible. But what I noticed is Pittsburgh has a ton of American food. Great stuff all across the board. Now, if we flip it over to Baltimore, Baltimore is very seafood heavy. And if it's an NFL game here, you think all we do here in Baltimore is eat crab cakes and pick steamed crabs. But there's so much more that we've got going on here. We've got Little Italy, which has some phenomenal Italian food. You've got, Highlandtown, which there's a lot of Greek restaurants out there. So both cities are just going to load you up with food. In addition to that, there's some incredible breweries among both cities that you'll love. A good spot here in the Baltimore area is Guinness. Actually has a plant south of the city here, and it's a lot of fun. In addition to that, Steve Bisciotti, who's the owner of the Ravens, he started, I believe it's called Sagamore Spirits, where they're making their own whiskey, and you can do tours and all of that right here inside the city. So those are some places to check out, but the good news is you got great places to eat in both towns and great places to have an awesome drink. Now, the final thing that I want to tell you about is this, and I think it's probably the biggest thing day to day that you're going to have to deal with between both cities, and unfortunately, it's the traffic. Here in Baltimore, in the Baltimore metro area, the traffic is absurd. Quite honestly, it's not the worst traffic I've ever seen. There's only two other places that I think have worse traffic than Baltimore. Actually, three. In the entire country, it's LA, Honolulu, and Orlando, Florida. And the Baltimore, Washington area is gotta be sitting there at least at number 4. But if you're commuting each and every day, Pittsburgh, hey, everyone, you have half the population, so there's half the cars on the roads, and quite honestly, I know you're not going to have the traffic challenges that we do. Well, my friends, there you go. There's a quick snapshot of Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Now, if a move to either one of these cities is in your near future, hey, my team and I, we want to help you out, because here's one thing I didn't tell you. We're also licensed in Pennsylvania, and some of our team is in Pennsylvania, so we can assist